speaker. I'd like to introduce Dr. Kevin Ward, who's going to speak on critical care science innovation, entrepreneurship, and commercialization, closing the loop. Kevin?
Thanks, Phil. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank you for offering me the chance to talk. I want to dedicate this talk to the Godfather, Bill Barson. And as you know, Godfather cannot refuse a request on his research day. So I would line up and start asking for favors. These are my disclosures. And basically, you ask people what cancer is. Everyone knows what cancer is in the public. If you ask them what critical illness and injury is, you get sort of a deer in a headlight look. So we do a good job putting a face on cancer. We don't do that good a job putting a face on critical illness. But these are the big buckets in critical illness here. Huge cost to the economy. About 40 to 50% of all hospital charges are critical care related, and about 40 to 50% of all hospital days. We have additional challenges here as opposed to cancer where the same team takes care of you from diagnosis to remission. You have a really diverse team that may take care of you across many echelons of care. And from a technology standpoint, that's very, very challenging. So again, similar to cancer where we have lots of specialties that practice cancer care, we have an increasing number of specialties that practice critical illness and injury. Here we've got 10 critical care units in our institution, including the country's first critical care unit in a hospital. But despite all of that, we have no big game changers over the last 30 years. I don't really know why that is. I suspect it has to do with the fact that critical care still remains a highly siloed individual specialty deal. And we take engineers up to the critical care unit in MCIRC, and they say, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, what were you guys thinking? And that doesn't stand for wonderful, terrific, fantastic. But I've really asked, what have been the game changers? ECMO is nice, but ECMO is not a scalable game changer. But, like cancer care, they figured out that there's a lot of commonalities in tumor biology, right? So this is why you can make a discovery in prostate cancer and create a therapeutic in breast cancer. Similarly, there are huge commonalities in organ dysfunction across many critical care states. So whether it's sepsis or trauma or traumatic brain injury and the brain injury after cardiac arrest. And I don't know that we've done a good job capturing that, especially on the scale that all of that happens. If we did, we could develop platform technologies that speak equally across this spectrum. So these look like two totally different patients. But from a big data and a physiologic perspective, if I didn't tell you what their injuries were or their age, they would look like the same patient. And so we're missing an economy of scale that's really important. We have technologies, for example, that we've developed in MCIRC for combat casualty care that are now being used in neonatal critical care units across the country in several studies. So we've sort of dropped the ball in terms of just doing the science and then waiting for the magic fairy to take our discoveries out and implement them in the public. And so these are some of the critical care challenges we have, is that critical care and its diseases still continue to be too siloed. It can't just be about another paper or another grant or another group. Too much intellectual property is given away in the rush to publish, and I know there are pressures about promotion and tenure and things like that. Innovation and entrepreneurship, so seeing this for the long road, it has a much longer horizon than we may be comfortable with. These behaviors to take an idea to its final impact are not really rewarded from an academic, cultural, and even at the NIH level. And industry now wants more risking. There was a day when you could sketch something on the back of a cocktail napkin and industry would do a license. Basically, they want things that are very turnkey. So some of the solutions are you need critical care and disease as an opportunity to develop larger platforms, greater resources for really high-risk, high-reward funding, more patience with the publications and grants and things like that. We need to improve promotion and tenure incentives, improve partnership opportunities with industry, and we need a robust local innovation, entrepreneurship, CEO culture. I'm going to play this little video which sort of describes what MCIRC is, which is really an innovation shop, but with a focus on entrepreneurship and commercialization.
This is Ben. He's a doctor, and he has a great idea for a tool that will help him treat critically ill and injured patients. But he doesn't have the expertise to build this tool. This is Maria. She's a biomedical engineer and an expert in computation and modeling. She could build the tool, but she doesn't know what clinical outputs healthcare providers are looking for. And this is Paul. While he's not a doctor or a researcher, he does have the financial means and desire to help make a difference in critical care. But as a potential donor, he wants to ensure that his money will be put to good use. So, how can innovative doctors like Ben meet engineers like Maria and donors like Paul? We are the Michigan Center for Integrative Research and Critical Care, or MCIRC. We connect researchers from different disciplines and help them get their innovative research from the bench to the bedside. But that's only part of it. We've connected Ben and Maria, yet having a great idea isn't enough. They're going to need access to the right tools and resources before their idea can become a reality. That's the MCIRC difference. As MCIRC members, Ben and Maria have access to funding through our Grand Challenge competition, which funds high-risk, high-reward proposals thanks to donors like Paul. They are also able to work one-on-one with our proposal development unit to help them win additional grants to get their research over the finish line. They can conduct their research in our specialized labs and have access to our big data analytic platform. And they can work with our data scientists, who are experts in machine learning and predictive medicine. To keep them on track, they'll work with our commercialization coaches, who will help them navigate the world of patents, FDA regulations, and ensure they're meeting their milestones. We'll even introduce them to industry partners to help accelerate their research. So, whether you're a researcher, business partner, or donor, we're ready to connect you with people just like Ben and Maria. And together, we can change the way critical care is delivered to save patient lives.
So this is what we do, and MCIRC is specifically designed to take that aha moment and execute on it till the very end. So this is just a summary slide where we've taken those clinical presentations of critical care, all the critical care specialties, and we've overlaid them with all the enabling disciplines, many of which exist outside the medical school. And then we strategically partner with industry very early. And if we do so, we hope to hit that sweet spot to where we can develop more of those game-changing technologies. So I'm going to go real quickly through some great examples responsible by many of you out in the audience. We have other posters as well. But this is a technology using impedance of the limb, which ends up being as good as IVC ultrasound collapsibility to determine volume loss. And this is, took this and did a derivation of this to measure cerebral autoregulation of the brain for traumatic brain injury. Both of these have been clinically tested. They're published. Another technology here using a special material wrapped around the finger, which harvests the energy of the contraction and expansion of digital arteries, giving a nice signal, and we can look at changes in those signals to predict hypotension. So, you know, a lot of this, the previous speaker, Dr. Alpern, you know, part of this is, you know, do we need a set of new vital signs, for example? So these are sort of new vital signs that we've created with technology. We have mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, computer scientists, physiologists, many clinical specialties all partnered to bring these together, and actually spun a company off called New Vital Signs. So these were funded originally with high-risk, high-reward innovation funding through MCIRC and the university. Went on to get substantial DOD and some NIH money, and then we thought it best to couple these or combine these and put them into a company moving forward. This is a chemical oxygen generator, special chemistry here discovered at MCIRC that went into a company. It was a spin-off. You might be seeing these in the next year with every AED that you see in airports and things like that. It makes 20 minutes of oxygen to be used in an emergency case. Sometimes it's best to just directly license things to a company in existence. This is an oral mouthpiece that absorbs about 100 times its weight and leaches out special chemicals that sterilize the oral pharynx. So this is to prevent ventilator-associated pneumonia. So part of the key here is we partnered with a wound care product that made stuff for peripheral wounds and adapted their technology for VAP. A technology to detect early ARDS. This is a microgas chromatography device with after 2 minutes of sampling exhaled breath. It's being clinically tested. Has a 95% sensitivity and specificity to detect early ARDS and its trajectory, including its resolution. We're considering a company called LungHound, and we're seeing signals here that we could detect early sepsis with this as well, because all your blood, of course, passes through your lung. You know, blood's the biggest organ in the body, yet we don't have really any vital signs. So this is a combination of technologies. Again, huge group, many engineers, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, computational scientists, where we've developed 3 separate technologies that in and of themselves may have a market, but the bigger win may be combination or combining them. One is to the left, to your left, is a whole blood viscosity monitor to monitor the viscosity of blood. The middle is a coagulation monitor, takes a drop of blood, and in 5 minutes you get a TEG or a ROTAM, a thromboelastography measure. And on the right is the world's first whole blood oxidative reduction potential measure. So this is actually measuring oxidative stress in your blood. So by combining these, all of these have been shown to have signals for sepsis for diagnosis, but what about using them for transfusion medicine? So should we be screening donors, for example? How do you screen the health of stored blood and those sorts of things? So this is the end of the talk, but basically I would encourage you to get involved with MCIRC. Again, this is a recognition of knowing what we don't know is that we have to de-silo the science of critical care. We have to realize an economy of scale, and we have to truly become multidisciplinary. So you're going to hear about some other technologies from members of MCIRC to tell you their journey. One we're particularly excited about is going to talk about some artificial intelligence stuff that we've done. There are lots of posters here. But again, I want us to get out of the traditional mindset. This is where we can make the big Michigan difference, is by getting out of our comfort zone, engaging in some high-risk, high-reward stuff, and partnering strategically, and thinking about what is it going to take to actually take this idea and move it to the bedside. And then this entrepreneurship and commercialization world, that can feel a bit uncomfortable. But MCIRC has lots of resources. The medical school has invested in resources, for example, in its Fast Forward Medical Innovation Program. We've got an awesome Office of Technology Transfer. We even have a research director with a newly minted MBA from Ross, right? So this is really a special time, and I don't want you to think about it as emergency medicine centric. I want you to think about this as disease and physiologic centric. And we have the opportunity. How am I doing on time? I'm over, okay. Questions? We're good, thank you.